Hi, this is John Rull for the Rull Report. Today is Saturday, August 2nd, 2025, and in this report, I'm going to be covering the progress of the President Trump administration in finding and removing all those individuals who entered the country without proper immigration approvals during the presidency of Joe Biden. We don't have accurate numbers of how many entered, but an estimate I have seen is 7.2 million at the southern border. And if you take into account the US Canada border, there were many entries from there. Also, we have the coastlines, we have the airports, we have many ways for people to come into the country. So the approximate number that came in to the United States without proper immigration approvals or possibly overstayed their visa is ranging anywhere between 10 and 11 million. It could be far less. I doubt it would be more than that. And President Trump's team to find and remove those individuals, it looks like we're at approximately 109,000. That is through June. So if you take the time that President Trump began his term until when that statistic was taken, that's approximately 20,566 per month. And if we annualize that, we'll get about 250,000. So if you take the full 4 years of President Trump, we will get to a number of 1 million, and between 1 million and 1.2 million. So that is about 10% of those who entered the country. And like I say, there is really no way to get an accurate number of how many entered the country. I know many of those who entered the country at some point without the proper permissions, and they're good people. They work hard. They seem really dedicated to their faith and to their work, and they try to professionalize themselves and to learn. And I really understand any country in the world can't allow millions of people inside their borders without some basic understanding of who they are, their history, and what they're coming for. So I decided that from today on forward, I will be doing an occasional special report called the Roundup, and we'll see how the progress is going from the current number to the 10 million or so that possibly entered the country without the proper permissions. I have nothing against those who entered, and I understand that in many countries the situation is dire in their economy. They have terrible security situations where they can't open a business because they'll be extorted, and they have no way of earning income. They have families who have needs, and many of them came to try to help their family, and that's really a noble reason to come. But like I say, to have millions of people come into the United States without the proper permissions, in part, it signals a breakdown in our whole security apparatus. Also, it indicates that all those businesses in the United States that need manual labor, like farms and vineyards and cattle ranches and all the places where manual labor is needed, and the U.S. citizen is not willing to do the work either because of the conditions or the pay. I can understand that that those laborers are needed. But like I say, a country can't allow millions of people to come into its borders because you don't know who's coming in. Um, you don't know their history. And this is a dangerous situation for a country to have many people in their community who may be criminals and who may um, feel that they're empowered because no one knows who they are. They're off the radar, and they don't feel like they're obligated by the laws of this country. So, um, also, many are driving vehicles without driver's license, without insurance. Um, and again, I I really try to sympathize and understand somebody's predicament of where they're coming from and that they feel like they didn't have a choice, that they had to come. But this is a really bad situation for the United States. And President Trump spoke um, widely about this topic during his presidential campaign, and he promised to get as many as he could of those removed from the country. He did start with the most violent criminals, and that's a good thing. But now we're almost 6 months in, or a little over 6 months into his term, and so what we're looking at is he will be able to locate and remove about 10% of those who came in during the presidency of Joe Biden. That's a really bad number. So President Trump needs to look at ways that he can improve that. And again, I have nothing against those who came during the presidency of Joe Biden. So many countries are broken. Their their security situation is a disaster. They feel that their families are being threatened. So many, worthy cases to remain in this country, and but we still need to know their background, and there's a way to do that. Um, so, and there's a way to process that to find out really who are the the good candidates from the bad eggs. So, um, but anyway, moving forward, I will be carrying out a report called this roundup, and we'll see how President Trump is doing, whether he's starting to click into second gear or whether he's still stuck in first gear. And so occasionally I'll be giving that a report. And like I say, I have nothing against those who came. I know many people in the United States who came without any um, migratory permissions and are still here. They're working. They seem to be honorable people, working hard, trying to professionalize themselves in their work. Um, but I repeat, a country can't allow millions of people into its border without knowing who they are, where their history, and to try to get them socialized and acclimatized and integrated into the society by understanding our laws about what they should do. And so there has to be a process of bringing some of them on board. That also needs to improve. So, anyway, this was a very long report, but if President Trump will only bring in and remove 10% of those who came in during the presidency of Joe Biden, I think that would be considered a failure. So um, I'll be bringing in more updates as time goes on, and we'll see how those numbers are going. So I wish everyone a good day, and thank you for joining me for the Raul Report. Bye bye.